MarkTech.com with your daily news update. All right, here we are on August the 11th in the year of our Lord 2025. Got some really good information for you tonight. Let me go ahead and click over here. MarkTech on Rumble. This is the video that you're watching right here, my episode 1651. Let's go ahead and get into that. And I'll pause that, close out the live chat. All right, let's slide down here and click the Show More button to expand the description box. And we have tonight Jimmy Dore Show, ACLJ Sekulow, Doug in Exile, and Wendy Bell is back from vacation, so we're going to play a snippet from her video. But before we get into that, I do have a shout-out, some shout-outs to give for Debbie BS, commented on my episode 1649. Fisher C45 reposted my episode 1650. Big John Perez commented on my episode 1650. And Israelite commented on my extra 435A. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments. I really enjoy reading them, and I appreciate your support. So thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and give this a thumbs up. Boom. That's just how easy it is. All right, well, let's get into this. Now, Jimmy Dore, he's a liberal. He used to be a big liberal. He's not so much anymore. He's kind of opened his eyes to a few things, and I think that's good. And that's the whole reason that I'm trying to share this information out, is somebody might see something and just, have a second thought. But let me go ahead and click on this. And let's go ahead and get this started. Let me get it back here to the beginning for you.
They're not going to go after the real problem. The real problem is the uniparty, and they all work for the same people. And it's the handful of billionaires that actually run everything. So Robert Reich, Clinton's labor secretary, went on Stephen Colbert, and he said, "These are my thoughts on how we save democracy. Are the same today as when we last spoke on the Colbert Report in 2010. So do you want to hear?" He says, "We need to get big money out of politics." I think everybody's for that. But that's not what he says. And that's not exactly what Colbert says. Let's watch what they say.
Last time we spoke was 15 years ago.
Yes, you haven't changed.
Neither of you. on the Colbert Report. And then, of course, I couldn't really agree with what you were saying, or really even understand what you were saying. But one of the things that you said in that interview has stuck with me ever since. We were talking about economic inequality in the United States and what the fruit of that would be. And you said at the time, here's the choice.
Well, can I just say how economic inequality got really exacerbated in the United States? How about when Barack Obama took over and he made sure the bankers got their bonuses while he kicked 5.1 million families out of their homes? How about that? How about when he made sure that you would still go bankrupt if you got sick by giving you a right-wing healthcare plan that was invented by the same people who invented Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation? And so income inequality got even worse during Barack Obama. So again, they're not going to go after the real problem. The real problem is the uniparty, and they all work for the same people. And it's the handful of billionaires that actually run everything. And so, okay, so they're going to talk about income inequality. And what are the reactions that do the populace make when we have incredible income? And by the way, we have greater income inequality today than we've ever had in the history of our country. Worse than the Gilded Age. Okay. And remember what the Gilded Age means. The Gilded Age means that there's a thin veneer of gold above everything that's masking the rot underneath in our society. That was why they called it the Gilded Age. Now we're worse than the Gilded Age.
We have reform. And in this country, we have always chosen, when we understand the nature of a problem, we always choose reform that enlarges the circle of prosperity for most people.
We've always chosen reform. No, we haven't. We didn't choose reform in 2008 when the Wall Street crashed the economy after deregulating the Wall Street investment banking and turning it into casino hopping. We never reinstituted Glass-Steagall. We never did that. Okay, we never gave people health care that wouldn't bankrupt them. We never did that. We never did any of that stuff. We had Occupy Wall Street, and then they learned how to turn the country against each other. Who's they? The people who run the media and the same people who run the government, the billionaire class. They turned those people because the right and the left came together on Occupy Wall Street. And so they turned us against each other, calling half the country racist, white supremacists, sexists, fascists. And the Democrats are supposed to be protecting democracy, even though they don't have democracy in their primary. They rigged both their primaries, 2016 and 2020. And then in 2024, they just didn't even have one. So there's actually more democracy in the Republican Party, for sure, as a fact, than there is in the Democratic Party. So again, this idea that you're voting for democracy is just talking points from a billionaire class. And that's what they're doing right here. So let's watch this.
So
here.
And in this country, we have always chosen, when we understand the nature of a problem, we always choose reform. Reform that enlarges the circle of prosperity for most people. Or we have a backlash, an angrier politics that picks on immigrants or foreign trade or blames the poor or even the rich. I was really hoping the first half of that statement would be true. I kept on waiting for, I think you said at the time, like the tap of justice to be opened a little bit, just so those at the top could preserve their position. Because this second half leads ultimately towards some form of revolution. Where would you please oraculate as to where we go from here? Because I think we know which one of these stews it turned out to be.
Well, I think we have no.
So he's pretending that there was a real choice in our election in 2024. There wasn't. The same stuff that's happening was going to happen. Let's remember that Barack Obama built those cages that they used to cry about Donald Trump putting immigrants in. Barack Obama deported twice as many immigrants as Hispanics as Donald Trump did in his first term. Without any due process, by the way, also. Without any due process. So...
But
he goes blaming Pierre.
Stephen, except to hope and work for democracy. And
we have to hope and work for democracy, except when Democrats are in power. We don't talk about oligarchs. We don't talk about billionaire money. We don't talk about democracy in our primaries. We don't talk about unrigging the voting system.
I'm not supposed to have to hope and work for that. I'm supposed to have lived in that for the last 200 years.
So... yeah.
What is he talking about? And also, the people they blamed, did you hear that? The big tent they have of both poor people and global trade?
Yeah.
What are you talking? Oh, that sad group. Oh, Intel communities and immigrants.
make the rule of law, again, the rule of our country.
How do you, I'm just curious. I agree with you.
How do we make the rule of law the rule again in the rule of law? You mean the fascist rule of law when you forced everybody to take an experimental medical treatment, or they couldn't go to work, or you closed down their workplace, or they couldn't go to college, or they couldn't go to school, or they couldn't travel? You mean that kind of rule of law? Or how about the rule of law where the FBI, the CIA, and the entirety of the media concocts a hoax to frame the sitting president of the United States as a traitor to our country so you can undermine our democracy? You mean that kind of rule of law? You mean go back to that kind of... Or how about when Joe Biden pardons every person in his family because they were taking payoffs from foreign countries? You mean that kind of rule of law? How about the rule of law where you censor people trying to report on Hunter Biden's laptop? You mean that kind of rule of law?
How about all the presidents go to the Hague to be tried like Nazis for the Nazi war crimes they all did?
Yeah.
We tortured some folks.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're moving on.
So, you mean the rule of law when Barack Obama didn't prosecute the people who did an illegal war and then ordered a torture program worldwide to cover it up? And he said, I'm not going to prosecute them. I mean, that kind of rule of law?
How about the Holocaust they just did in Gaza in front of your dumb face?
Right, yeah, how about that kind of rule? How about the rule of law where Barack Obama killed an American citizen, a teenager, extrajudicially without any... just did it with the drone and then bragged about it? You mean that kind of rule of law? So these guys, again, they just concoct this phony situation where the Democrats are for democracy and the rule of law, even though every piece of evidence of long-term and short-term shows you the exact opposite. They haven't had a real primary in the Democratic Party for 10 years, for a decade. They rigged it in 2016. They rigged it in 2020. And then they didn't even have a primary in 2024. They just appointed the Wall Street's darling, which was Kamala Harris, after they committed a coup. In the words of Jim Gaffigan, they committed a coup so they could preserve democracy.
Well, we do that a lot around the world.
Yeah.
Right? Why wouldn't they do it here?
What a lot of the last campaign was fought over. It didn't move the majority of Americans.
He's saying that's what a lot of the last campaign was fought over, meaning 2024. It was fought over the rule of law and democracy. The rule of law. You know, the rule of law, meaning we get to use lawfare against our political opponents. Not only the former president, but everybody, his lawyers and everybody around him. We're going to prosecute all those people. How about we over-prosecute January 6 people, something that was rigged, instigated, and concocted by the FBI. So we can criminalize a political movement.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. But you hear how he's talking. I mean, he talks like a MAGA person. You know, this guy didn't talk like that 4 years ago. He didn't talk like this until after he got his first COVID shot. And his arm went numb. And he had excruciating pain in his shoulder. So I went back to the doctor and was telling him about it. He said, well, this doctor said it wasn't the COVID shot. He said, what do you mean? I didn't have this yesterday, day before yesterday. Yesterday I got the shot, and now I can't move my arm. What do you mean it wasn't the COVID shot? So he started doing a little research, and he found out that he's been lied to for years, and he's pissed about it. Okay, let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from the Jimmy Dore Show. I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's get back here to the main page and the description box. But before we get into that, I do want to share something with you here. I picked up a new sponsor today from Rumble. They were nice enough to give me a new sponsorship. The barcode will show up here. Let me go ahead and see if I can. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and play ACLJ Sekulow. It's about an 8-minute clip, and then we'll get into this sponsor.
Well, we got a couple minutes here. Do you want to save this topic? You want to just give a brief
overview because this is
another big movement that's happening in the United States. We need to keep an eye on.
This goes basically at the heart of what we already fought last year, and actually we're able to get that great letter from the Secretary of the Army and the Secretary of Defense, where the military was training in terror awareness training members of the military, that groups like Operation Rescue and pro-life pregnancy centers were potential domestic terrorists. Now we see in Massachusetts, surprise, surprise, we've got a lot of legal fights going on in Massachusetts.
Things lead back through Massachusetts.
Is that they were training as a part of a state-run in-service training that was run by the Municipal Police Training Committee, which is a part of the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They had this in-service training on freedom and hate, speech, crimes, and groups. And one of the groups that was listed and went over by the trainer right after Antifa was Moms for Liberty. So we know what Antifa does. We've seen the destruction across major cities in the United States. Moms for Liberty goes and advocates for their children at school boards. Now that the Biden era is over and the FBI is no longer investigating parents at school boards, some of the liberal states in this country are taking up the mantle and championing this horrific program where they're going after conservative speech and advocates. And so I can tell you also that our team has reached out to Moms for Liberty. We have worked with them in the past, and so we have great connection with them. And we are now looking at ways that the ACLJ can get involved to help Moms for Liberty right this wrong, because whether it's the pro-life resource centers that we are now in court fighting the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for trying to target them with this deceptive campaign, trying to get them shut down in their state. We also know that they're training their police to look out for Moms for Liberty as effectively domestic terrorists. And they even say that they are designated an anti-government extremist group. These are moms that are passionate about their children, what their children are being taught, conservative values. And if you are a Mom for Liberty and a part of their group in Massachusetts, they're training their police, their law enforcement to be on the lookout for you.
We are so excited to announce the ACL.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and show you on the Rumble link here that this video does come from American Center for Law and Justice. This is the video I shared with you. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. And, you know, folks, I just don't understand the Democrats, what they're thinking here. Do they think that people want this kind of treatment? I don't get it. Because you want to protect your kid in elementary school and don't want them to hear about sexual activities? Unbelievable. All right, let's jump over here, and this is about 40 seconds here. Good information.
Set your clocks, mark your calendars, and buckle up for the best NFL primetime football action.
Starting September 4th on Westwood One, you can catch all the bone-crushing hits, last-second heroics, and edge-of-your-seat action that NFL Thursday, Sunday, and Monday nights have to offer.
Whether you're tailgating, driving, or chilling at home, don't miss a single snap.
Listen on the NFL app, the Westwood One Sports app, at westwoodsports.com, or just say, Alexa, open Westwood One Sports.
If it's the NFL, it's on Westwood One.
Okay, let's jump back here then and move on down to Doug in Exile. All right. The View host stunned as bad ratings just dropped the hammer. Can you believe it? There's a possibility, you know, I've heard rumors of this, there's a possibility that they may cancel the View because of poor ratings and they're losing money. Okay? How horrible could that be? Let's take a listen. Okay. I think, yeah, I'm not getting any audio on this, so I'm going to reset this.
It's not just Trump, it's MAGA. It's Make America Great Again. The patriot on your right and on the left, what's rolling around in your head, it's what makes us happy. It will also save the world, save the next generation of children from being destroyed. Speaking of being destroyed, here's The View, which there's threats, they say, that this hiatus, that they're not going to come back. Now, this is rumor. I'm first to admit it, but I want to be first to report it because I'm hoping this is the end of The View, and I know many of you have the same dream. Joy Behar confirms ABC warned The View not to diss Donald Trump. Wow. Joy Behar seemingly confirmed that ABC warned the View panel not to speak ill of Donald Trump following CBS's Stephen Colbert show cancellation. Shots fired. Stephen Colbert's show went down. Next to go down could be The View. That's Rosie O'Donnell predicts that. The latest episode of The View saw Joy Behar seemingly confirm that ABC warned the show's controversial panel not to poke fun at President Donald Trump. The comment came as the panel was discussing CBS's cancellation of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. More specifically, the co-hosts discussed whether they believed the show was pulled for political reasons, despite the network insisting it was purely financial. Now, remember, The View, they went on a prolonged hiatus, and there's always rumors of them being taken off the air permanently. Given her opinion, Behar said, it's always been the role of the court jester to make fun of the king. That is the role of comedians. That's also our role, to make fun of The View, because on media, there's some kind of a leadership and king. Quote, the king is supposed to take the hits. That is, roll over and die, Trump, just take it. No, he hits back. He's the king that hits back at the gesture. And this guy has a skin thinner than this piece of paper as she rubbed the crepey skin on her arms, she joked. And by the way, why is it that this guy can call anyone anything he wants? This guy's stupid. This one's an idiot. No, actually, he can call anyone he wants because this is America. Everyone has free speech. I keep having to explain this to Democrats. Quote, but we're not allowed to say anything like that on his show in particular, she revealed. And I accept that and respect that. I'm not going to start calling him the Orange Menace, even if that's what he is. I'm just saying he can do it, but we can't. That's not going to work, she added. So the network is saying, don't make fun of Trump. I actually disagree with that's what the network is saying. They're saying don't have all five of you, not make fun of him. It doesn't matter if you make fun of him, but all five of you despise and show contempt for MAGA, which half that audience, Disney or ABC is looking at their audience going, why is the MAGA half not here? Why is the largest half of America not watching our show? Because you have five panelists not making fun of Trump as if it's funny or a joke, seriously tearing him down, calling him a totalitarian, a Nazi, a sexist, a monster, all that. You despise him. And if I was The View, I would fire 2 The View hosts and bring in 2 hardcore, funny, interesting, female, MAGA, unapologetically MAGA. They can still make fun of Trump, but I don't want some Elisa Farrah Griffin thinking that they're throwing someone a bone. I want a bomb thrower, someone who, like Whoopi, we'll talk about Biden and call him you-know-who. In late May, the Daily Beast reported that Disney boss Bob Iger and ABC News chief admin Kara Menmadovic urged The View hosts to tone down their trademark political rhetoric on the show. And I don't have a problem with them having political rhetoric. Political rhetoric is fine. Don't tone down the politics. You know that Whoopi's just dying to jump in. They need other views represented. If the audience wants to look at those hosts and go, hey, she's me. She represents me. Behar's recent comments seem to confirm these reports, with fans thinking the same thing. One post on Twitter, Joy calling The View out. She called her own show out. Well, if you're talking about CBS bowing to pressure, how about talk about your own boss, ABC, telling you guys to slack up off of Trump? Another asked. A third said, speaking on it, Joy Behar, the king, supposedly to take his hits. Thin-skinned, 47. That is a really bad take. Trump, his worldview, the MAGA movement, has bigger legs than you think. Here's John Bolton back in 2022, completely dismissing Trump as Bolton was considering a run for president. Listen to what he says about President Trump. Was he right? Did history prove him out?
Trump's influence is declining. That hurts some people's feelings who want to use Trump to anathematize the entire Republican Party. But that gambit isn't going to work. if I do get in, it will be to win the nomination, not simply to prove a point. That's a serious, difficult decision to make, and I'm going to consider it in a prudent fashion. This whole idea that there's a Trump movement out there is simply wrong. The fundamental point in politics is philosophy.
Philosophy, there's no Trump movement. Dude, every time I see that mustache, I want to get my bottle brush and clean out the bottles with when I do the dishes.
Everything else flows from that. Donald Trump has no philosophy. Donald Trump doesn't think in policy terms. There is no...
How's his policy working out? He ended 6 wars. His tariffs are bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars. He just has a policy from outside the box. And your tiny head, you're older than me, Bolton. You should be wiser than this. Your tiny head is stuck inside of a tiny box and you can't see outside of it. Trump's box is huge. Your box is inside of his. See, he's outside the box. He's inside his own box, but your box is completely inside of his. And you can't see outside of yours. And you think the world is that big. And Trump came in and went... It's bigger than you think, Bolton.
No Trumpism. He's an aberration in American politics.
Thank God.
And it's the job not of the liberal media, not of the Democratic Party. It's the job of Republicans to repair the damage he's done. And that's part of what we're about here.
Trump is repairing the damage the Republicans did, Bolton. Oh, someone's repairing some damages. You think inside the box. This is the same thing with the guys that were anti-tariff and the one that say you have to pay down the debt instead of reform, using Doge, shrinking government, paying with the big, beautiful bill. You have to expand your military. We had to pay for it, even though we're in debt and spending more money. Because Trump goes, you know what? We're going to bring in tariffs. We're going to save some money. We're going to bring in, there's a lot of ways to crack this deficit.
My kind of conservatism, the kind that I supported when Barry Goldwater ran for president. And
oh, yeah, the Barry Goldwater days. Dude. That's like saying my kind of conservatism was relevant, during Teddy Roosevelt.
When Ronald Reagan ran for president, is the mainstream of the Republican Party. These outliers, and there are some, there is a virus of isolationism within the party.
That's just Rand Paul.
But it's not a conservative philosophy. It's not a philosophy at all. It's performance art. That's what Donald Trump was.
Maybe the performance art is the philosophy, because he just outperformed you. Now, did history prove John Bolton right? Let's take a look at LAX, and this is spotted at LAX. California vibe is shifting right. This is in hostile territory, guys. This is Los Angeles Airport. These are MAGA sweaters. They can't keep them on the shelves at the airport. This is a Trump t-shirt. Guess what tourists want at LAX in Los Angeles Democrat headquarters? Even they to make money. Now, going back after who proved what right? Let's go to Devin Nunes. This is him in 2016 saying, you know what I smell? I smell spying on the Trump administration or the Trump candidacy.
Good afternoon, everyone. I recently confirmed that on numerous occasions, the intelligence community incidentally collected information about U.S. citizens involved in the Trump transition. Details about U.S. persons associated with the incoming administration, details with little or no apparent foreign intelligence value, were widely disseminated in intelligence community reporting. Third, I have confirmed that additional names of Trump transition team members were unmasked. And fourth, and finally, I want to be clear, none of this surveillance was related to Russia or the investigation of Russian activities or of the Trump team.
This was 8 years ago.
The House Intelligence Committee will thoroughly investigate surveillance and its subsequent dissemination to determine a few things here that I want to read off. Who was aware of it? Why it was not disclosed to Congress?
Hillary and Obama.
Who requested and authorized the additional unmasking?
Barack Obama.
Whether anyone directed the intelligence community to focus on Trump associates?
Brennan.
And whether any laws, regulations, or procedures were violated?
All of them.
I've asked the directors of FBI, NSA, and CIA to expeditiously comply with my March 15th letter that you all received a couple weeks ago, and to provide a full account of these surveillance activities. I informed Speaker Ryan this morning.
Speaker Ryan. That tells you everything. I informed Speaker Ryan. I'm sure he jumped right on it, Devin Nunes. We were such suckers back then. Even Trump had no idea. Devin Nunes was the first. He called it out. Every single play in the Russia hoax he knew about 9 years ago. Nothing was done, partially because of who was in charge of the DOJ. Could have been Jeff Sessions. I mean, it could have been all of these Republicans playing under an old John Bolton, old Republican paradigm, thinking we're back in the Goldwater Reagan days. It's like going, we're going to do things the way Gerald Ford did things. We're going to really get right on top of this investigation. I called Speaker Ryan. Nothing happened. Well, now things are happening. Devin Nunes back in government. Stuff's happening big. Here's Exhibit A. I've got a bunch of other stuff to show you guys, so hold tight here. An FBI agent leaked his termination letter to the mainstream media. This just reaffirms FBI Director Kash Patel decision to fire him. The American people stand with the de-weaponization of the FBI. This is one of 3 fired down here by Kash Patel, the director. Dear Mr. Giardina, this document provides official notice that you are being summarily dismissed from your position at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, removed from the federal office under my authority as the FBI director, effective immediately. Bye-bye. Only took 9 years. You have exercised poor judgment and a lack of impartiality in carrying out duties leading to the political weaponization of government that's been going on for 9 years. 9 years. Paul Ryan, you did nothing. 9 years. Pursuant to Article 2 of the United States Constitution and the laws of the United States, your employment with the Federal Bureau of Investigation is hereby terminated after doing 9 years of damage. Guys, everyone's going like, who's going to jail? Guys, it took 9 years just for us to be able to send them a letter and fire them. If applicable, you may have the right to file an appeal of this removal with the U.S. Merit System Protection Board. Boy, there's a board that needs to be destroyed. Now, I'm going to get into more of those other 3 firings. I just want to show you guys a quick update on what's happening in other news. This is a fight between Margie Taylor Greene and host Mark Levin, and I'm fans of both. I want these 2 kids to get along. You know what? Mark Levin and Margie Taylor Greene are going to agree with me that John Bolton was in the wrong and did not last. Trump is in the right. These 2 both believe Trump is in the right. We're going to have to unite with our infighting, and we have a lot of infighting in our party. Fox News host Mark Levin is a raging psychopath, says Marjorie. He's attacking me, lying about me, and even worse, in comments in his own post calling Christians bigots and says I should go to prison, all because I'm unapologetically America first and apologetically fighting for my children's generation. This conflict, no doubt, has to do with her attacking AIPAC. Mark Levin is a Jew. Here's Rebecca Dopp. Margie Taylor Greene is speaking to my concerns as an American. You, Mark Levin, are not. It's that simple. I'm a Christian. Christ is king. And Christ is king is something that you say to a Jew to get them mad because they reject the Messiah. And yes, I believe the Jews are wrong to reject the Messiah. Doesn't mean I point every single conspiracy at Israel and the Jews like a whole lot of people on the right do. And then Mark Levin writes her back saying, you're a bigot. Now, is that Mark Levin? He didn't put an apostrophe R-E on there. He called you're a bigot. Does he misspell that, Mark? And then here's someone else who's put in all caps, MTG 2028. And then Mark Levin goes like, what, for prison? Little fight there. Now back to John Bolton. Who's winning? Here's Trump. He gave that president of Azerbaijan lovely gifts from their gift set.
I love this for your wife.
Oh, yeah. I'd love this for your wife, a beautiful scarf. What a kind gentleman.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you put the key in here, whoever's taking it? That's important to not to lose.
There's a little box down there, and you gave him like a key to the city thing. He goes, can you put the key in here?
No. Okay, good. I had this one for you, but I like that box better.
Yeah. A better box.
I had that one for you.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to run them.
He's explaining the joke. He's looking at his Trump 2028 hat that they have at the White House that they give away to people. And he has to explain to the head of Azerbaijan, I'm not allowed to run. So he's explaining the joke. I think this is so wonderful.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause this here because I want to move on to Wendy Bell. But as you can see here, this video does come from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. And, he always puts out great information. But, okay, let's jump back here and scroll down here. And folks, it's been a while since we've heard from Wendy Bell. She was on vacation last week. I normally play her stuff 3 or 4 times a week, share her information, and this is a good cut here from her. So let me know in the chat if you've missed Wendy Bell, or if I share too much of her information or not enough. Let me know. But let's go ahead and get going on this.
As all of you know, 65%
You know
of
what?
our inmate
I think I've got the wrong link in here, so I'm going to have to come over here to Vertec.com. Let me go ahead and share that. I'll update my description box here. But let's come down here and click on Wendy Bell and get this going from here. Alrighty.
And it feels good.
So this is just shortly after she gives her Pledge of Allegiance. And of course, she was on vacation last week, so she's talking a little bit about her vacation, and she gets into being with her family. So let's take it up from there. I'm at the almost 11-minute mark.
Good on your skin. Last night, I invited a couple of the family members over to have some dinner, just to say thank you for the trip as we get involved in the new school year and Joe and I start our jobs again. And something odd happened. I wasn't expecting it. One of my family members asked me a question. She said, "You know what? My neighbor has come down with diabetes. Healthy, shock, wasn't expecting it, out of the blue. And he asked me, do you think this has anything to do with the vaccine?" And my family member, who's fully vaccinated, said, "You know what? I don't know. But my sister-in-law does. I'll ask her and see what I can find out." And so this family member did last night. What do you know about that, Wendy? Because I know you know a lot more than I do. You read a lot more. I said, well, I'll print something out for you, and then you can decide where you want to go with it. I opened up my laptop, and I clicked on the one file that I've saved on its desktop. And it's the list of Pfizer adverse events, the side effects that Pfizer knew about before they ever came out and said to you, you really should get this. It's safe and effective. It's going to stop with you. This is what good people do. It's for the greater good. Don't choose the wrong decision here. So I printed out the 9 pages of side effects, which I hold here in my hands. And I handed them to my family member. And she said, "What's this?" And I said, "Oh, those are the side effects." And she said, "Of what?" And I said, "Oh, that's just the Pfizer jab." And she started this, going through the pages. And as she read more and more, her eyes got bigger and bigger. And I looked at her and I said, "And isn't that awful? This is what they've done to us." I lost a job over speaking honestly about that. Ladies and gentlemen, for this particular family member to, one, ask me about anything regarding COVID or the vaccine is truly monumental. Watching the light bulb was like seeing the sun on the sandy beaches of Hilton Head Island. She's awake. It's not just you. It's not just me. It's families all across America awakening to this last chapter of what has been a suffocating, wet blanket of deceit. And it seems every day, as the sun rises anew, there's another quote unquote bombshell, which really isn't so bombshelly at all when you've had the lights on from the beginning. That's what today's program is going to be about. because there's been a fundamental shift in the force. This is now the point when the hunters become the hunted, where the people who brazenly thought they could get away with whatever the heck they wanted at any cost to you, and who cares about you, who've been insulated by political processes and fraud and corruption on a scale I think that would shock all of us. The moment they realize the tide has changed, the water is moving out to sea, and what's coming, what's churning out in the deep ocean is something that they never thought they would see. And that's called justice. This isn't about political punishment for the people who have lied to us and cheated and stolen and deceived and finger wagged and proselytized. This is about criminal punishment. This is about people being put away for what they've done. And this is about you and about me demanding it shall be so. What we're going to talk about today is the last gasp of Democrat hope. They don't have the people. They don't have the policies. Their money has dried up. America has awakened, much like my family member in my kitchen yesterday, who leafed through 9 pages, single-spaced, of the side effects Pfizer knew about long before they ever asked you to roll up your sleeve. Never forget what they've done to you. And 63 million people in 2016 grew to 74 million people in 2020, grew to almost 8 million in 2024. What do you believe it's going to be like coming up in 2028? It's called lights out for the Democrats, and they know it. The hunters are now the hunted. Get your bread. We've got the gravy. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, not a good day to be Letitia James, not a good day to be her any day, but she's facing a good, 30 years in prison for mortgage fraud dating back to 1983. And when Michael Cohen's the one who says she's screwed, oh my, don't go anywhere. We're back right after this on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, let me go ahead and move this forward, get it past our station break here. This is a radio program, so
committed tax fraud. Okay. Very well.
It's magic,
Well, Fanny, not Fanny. I'm thinking about, I'm going to take a Letitia James. She thinks it's a magic that she's gotten away with mortgage fraud for the better part of 40 years. Oh, my. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. Things are getting real for Tish. Special prosecutor Ed Martin now has the most documented mortgage fraud case in modern political history. There's this guy on X. His name is Sam Antar. This dude is a dog on a bone. If I'm not mistaken, he was once a tax fraud guy. He committed tax fraud, served time, and then worked with the government to track down basically white-collar criminals who do mortgage fraud, tax fraud, whatever. And he's literally blown out the roadmap to convicting her. When I look at what he's done, now this is one of the benefits of being one of the Wendy Bell Radio Locals members, because this link I'm reading to is part of our rundown, and we share it with you every single day. Go to locals.com, put in Wendy Bell Radio, join that, and you will get access to our rundowns every day. Now, why is she so in the crosshairs? Well, this is very interesting. Ed Martin, right? This is the guy that Pam Bondi and Donald Trump wanted to be the U.S. attorney for D.C. The Senate wouldn't confirm him because largely Rhino Senator Tom Tillis, who somehow decided not to run for re-election, said he would never vote for Ed Martin. Never, ever, ever. Why? Because Ed Martin had said things about the January 6 cases, about the prosecution and the persecution of innocent people who got sucked into a despicable trap, and many of whom got sent away ostensibly for life sentences. Tom Tillis, Rhino Senator, was like, I can't get behind Ed Martin. And so they sunk his nomination. Of course, Jeanine Pirro now is that DC attorney. However, Ed Martin, super smart, has been appointed the special prosecutor on these mortgage fraud cases involving not just Letitia James, but also Adam Schiff. And I want you to hear Michael Cohen now, who himself has served time for being a scumbag. This is Donald Trump's former attorney, the guy who's behind the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels, et cetera, et cetera. He's saying, look, if you guys think, he's telling this to the panel, this is Jonathan Capehart and this other dude on MSNBC. And Michael Cohen is like, look, this is not just business as usual. They're not going to get a slap on the wrist. This is serious fraud, and this is decades possibly in prison. Their goose is cooked. Listen to Michael Cohen.
Mark my words, politically, they're both doomed. All right. I'm telling you right off the bat, this is a political suicide for both Tish James and Adam Schiff.
More of a political homicide. Well, yeah, but how are they going to be? How are they politically doomed if Senator Schiff comes from a blue state? Attorney General Tish James is here in a blue state. They are elected by the people. How are they doomed politically?
It'll be gerrymander. It will end up being somehow. They will end up being held races. Yes, but they will also be held accountable. Mark my words, they will be held accountable for the crimes that they are now looking at. That's Ed Martin who's looking at him. And I know so many people are going to say, "Oh my God, Michael Cohen is like bending the knee to Trump." No, what I'm doing is I'm actually telling you the reality. We can talk to each other all day long and we can say, oh, I have 1 million followers, you have 1 million followers. It's the same 1 million followers. 77 million Americans ended up voting for Trump. Mark my words, Ed Martin, the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, they will figure out exactly how to go after Adam Schiff, how to go after Tish James for these mortgage violations, and they
alleged
will be
mortgage violations.
Alleged, correct, and they will be held accountable.
Alleged mortgage violations. Hey, Jonathan, you should probably go back and look at these documents. So here's the issue. The people on these news shows, MSNBC, CNN, your networks, et cetera, they don't do any research. They're not looking into why Tom Tillis has fallen apart. They're not looking at who Ed Martin is and what he's about. They're not looking at Letitia James back in 1983 lying on a mortgage application saying that her father, who was co-buying some apartment or what have you with her, was her husband. Every single thing this woman has signed, mortgage related, has been fraudulent. 3 different properties, dual residences. The woman is toast. Tom Tillis blocked Ed Martin, guys, from becoming U.S. attorney for D.C. because Martin supported January 6ers who were being treated as political prisoners. Now, the hunters are being hunted. Now Ed Martin will be the special prosecutor for Letitia James and the Adam Schiff mortgage fraud investigations. Martin is also working in the DOJ as Weaponization Working Group Director, Associate Deputy AG, and Trump's pardon attorney. Judge Jeanine is now the U.S. attorney for D.C. And Senator Tom Tillis is quitting the Senate because he couldn't get elected dog catcher in North Carolina. This is what is going on. And it is beautiful. Donald Trump didn't spend Joe Biden's alleged presidency golfing or traveling to exotic locales with Melania. He was plotting his comeback, putting in the players, assembling the team, and now they're throwing strikes. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, let's talk about this beautiful House oversight move to declassify 46 pages of deep state secrets. Why? Next.
All right, while I'm moving this forward, I want you to take a listen to this right here. Some more Westwood One sports for NCAA.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. I'm still wondering where Matt Gaetz is going to fall in this. It's almost like a kaleidoscope. Like I look through it and you change it around and you look up at the light and various pieces take different shapes. It's all starting to come together. And I have to think about this. I mean, think about where President Trump has been. He could have left in 2021, January 20th, right? Could have left. Could have gone back to his beautiful supermodel wife, his outstandingly successful, intelligent, and well-kept family, right? Gone back to his billion-dollar businesses, his golf courses, his hotels, all of the development that is the Trump empire. And he could have basically said, you know what? I did my part. It's over. Good luck. And then they came for him. Then they raided his house. Then they took a shot at him. And then they tried to take a second one. And the gloves were off. And it was game over. You're not just dealing with a man in President Trump who loves America. You're dealing with a man who realizes if it's ever going to be fixed, it's now. And there's not a whole lot of time to waste. What was Friday? 200 days? The accomplishments of this administration in peeling back the suck, exposing the fraud and the corruption, and sharing it with all of us. And the message is spreading. I can tell you that. The message is spreading. So I want to read you something. Why Tulsi Gabbard declassified a 2020 GOP-led House report alleging the Obama administration manipulated intelligence to link Donald Trump to Russian election interference should terrify the deep state. Because the CIA and the Democrats both objected to the release over, quote, national security concerns. But they didn't seem to be all that concerned when Hillary Clinton was keeping a private email server in her freaking closet in her house, right? All of this stuff that is coming out of House oversight, all of these subpoenas to the former administration players, it's putting together an airtight chronology with whistleblower evidence peppered in along the way as the roadmap to go in and finally root out the corruption. Now, I want to read this to you. It's a very interesting article that kind of tells you why Tulsi Gabbard and Donald Trump are so serious about this. It's fascinating. It's from SAN.com. I don't have my glasses on. I should be able to read this minuscule print for what SAN stands for, but I'll look at it in a minute. I want to read this to you, though, because it's important. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released a lightly redacted 46-page House Intelligence Committee report detailing claims that the Obama administration manipulated intelligence to the president to tie President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign to Russia, to Russian election interference. The document, originally completed by GOP lawmakers in 2020. You guys, we've known about this for freaking years. But the CIA was like, well, you know what? We probably shouldn't do anything with that because that could put a danger, national security threat, all this jazz. They freaking sat on it. Your House Republicans, ladies and gentlemen, sat on it. They did not have control of the House. They could not expose it in 2020. Things changed in 2022. Gabbard approved the release with Trump's backing, overriding objections from the CIA and other agencies. All these people want to protect themselves and each other. That's standard operating procedure. Gabbard used her authority as Director of National Intelligence to override the usual interagency clearance process. CIA Director John Ratcliffe publicly backed the release, but many intelligence officials objected behind the scenes. Well, no duh, because they used bogus intelligence. And now what do you have? You have an American population that doesn't trust the intelligence community, the same way we don't trust doctors in many capacities, or science, right? Or the experts, because it seems like they're always wrong. Now, officials interviewed by the Washington Post said the CIA had proposed additional redactions to protect sources and methods, but Gabbard pushed to release a minimally edited version. Do you know the difference there? This administration wants you to know. They want to put it out to you and say to you, here are the pages. I'm going to give you the top line bullet points. You need to do some investigating. It's what I did with my sister-in-law and my family yesterday when I was like, you know what? Here are the known adverse events from Pfizer's shot. Side effects they knew about. Now, you read about this and you make up your own mind. Tulsi Gabbard and President Trump don't want to tell you what to think. They want to lead you to the resources so you can think. Now, as I'm talking about this, we're going to talk about gerrymandering today. It's very important because the Democrats are calling flat. They're crying foul. Donald Trump and the Republicans are trying to steal this or that. They're trying to beef up their representation in the House of Representatives. That's true. They are. But it's not in an illegal fashion. We're unwinding the counting of illegal immigrants, who, by the way, have given the Democrats as many as 30 seats in the House. Now, think about that. If you remove the illegals from the census and you only count American citizens, Democrats are doomed. How are they going to get anything done? How are they ever going to come back into power? These people will stop at nothing, to the point of flying over to freaking El Salvador to meet with a gang-banging, wife-beating dirtbag to protect them, those seats in the House. All right, so we're going to go back. You ready? The Obama effect. We were all told he was the greatest thing in the world. He was black. You had to vote for him. This is a pivotal moment, a watershed moment. America's no longer racist, right? This is interesting. In 2008, Barack Obama won the presidency in blowout fashion over Republican candidate John McCain. President Obama won the election by roughly 9.5 million votes, and he won the Electoral College by 192 votes. In addition to controlling the White House, the Democratic Party held 859 more state legislative seats than Republicans and had overwhelming majorities in both the Senate and House of Representatives. Things could not have been going any better for the Democrats. And then everybody realized that Barack Obama sucked. He wasn't anything that he said he was going to do or who he was. He was radical, right? And things went sideways quickly. In the first 2 years of Barack Obama's presidency, there were a lot of controversial legislation and actions taken by the administration. But by far, the most controversial legislation passed was the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare. Polling showed that this was very unpopular among American voters. Their frustration came to fruition over the next election cycle. By the end of the 2010 midterm elections, Democrats had lost 726 state legislative seats, 6 governorships, 63 seats in the House of Representatives, and 6 Senate seats. Do you guys remember that? In just 2 years. The downward trend for the Democrats was put on hold for the time being in 2012. Barack Obama won the presidency by 5 million votes and by 126 in the Electoral College. While the Democrats gained back seats in the Senate and the House, they did not regain their majority in the House. The Democrats also gained a few legislative seats. So while Democrats had gains, the GOP still had the majority of state legislatures, governorships, and had a majority in the White House. This is where the argument is made that the people of America, while voting for Obama the man, still collectively rejected his policies. There were 6 states that Obama won that had a Republican-controlled state Senate, with another having a split Senate. In addition, there were 7 states that went for Obama but had a Republican-controlled state House. Altogether, there were 5 states that went for Obama that still had both a state legislature controlled by Republicans and had a Republican governor. There were a total 8 states, 6, Florida, Iowa, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin would later go for Trump in 2016. Now, this is interesting. Where the wheels really came off for the Democratic Party is in the 2014 midterms. After that set of elections, Republicans controlled 33 of 49 state houses and 35 of 49 state senates. Nebraska, not included in those numbers because they have a unicameral state government, which is nonpartisan. Republicans had a total advantage in state legislatures of 956 seats. 31 of 50 governorships, a 59-seat advantage in the House, a 10-seat advantage over Democrats in the Senate. So, from when Barack Obama was elected in 2008 to when Donald Trump was elected in 2016, the Democratic Party lost a total of 15 state house chambers, 14 state Senate chambers, 960 state legislative seats, 10 governorships, 62 seats in Congress, and 11 seats in the Senate. With these numbers, plus the election of Donald Trump as president, it can only be concluded that while Obama the man was well liked, the policies of Obama were not. Everything they've been selling you for the better part of 20 years has been a lie. It's been a shiny metal object. Look over here. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, right? America doesn't want liberal. America doesn't want progressive. America doesn't want radical. We're very basic people. And the Democrats realize that with more Black and Hispanic voters, with now Gen Z moving over to the Republican side, that the 2026 midterms are going to be an absolute bloodbath, which would be a total midterm shock. Always, the incumbent party loses in the midterms. What's coming is going to be a disaster. Nobody wanted any of this. And quite frankly, we didn't vote for it either. And the GOP is now on its way to proving it.
All right, there we have it, folks. She's going to go on to more 47 minutes into this 2 hour and 58-minute video. Okay, so let me go ahead and click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. And folks, these videos here that I share with you come directly from the producers' channels, okay? I have the links to the video. I did fix the link here earlier. This is one of the good things about Rumble is I can go ahead and play the video. I don't have to devote the video to the particular screen that I'm working on. So during Wendy Bell's video, I went in and updated the link in here. So when you click on it, boom, it actually takes you to her video. See, right there? Okay, so, but with that being said, these videos come directly from the producers, okay? I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out. I do it to get more information out, just like Wendy Bell did with that letter she gave to her relative, or that document that she gave to her relative, explaining the side effects of the Pfizer jab. Now, if you've been listening to me and listening to Wendy Bell, you know she's not surrounded by a bunch of conservative MAGA people. That most of the people in her life are actually pretty liberal. So she's slowly but surely changing those people's minds. And that's what I'm trying to do. And it would help if you share this information out. It helps when you chat in the chat box. It helps when you give comments. It helps when you give me a thumbs up, because it moves my video up in the ratings for Rumble and more people have the ability to see it. Speaking of that, let me go ahead and check out the live chats here. Now we've got a lot of live chats. Let me click down here. Okay, good. And copy these into a comment, because when this live stream is over, those live chats just kind of vanish. So I'm going to copy that in here. Deborah, let's get to the party. Okay. But with that being said, let me do a quick refresh here. Okay. And I've had 142 people watch this video so far. I've got 37 people watching right now, and I've got 6 thumbs up. So, you know, if I could get 31 of you to slide down and give me a thumbs up, that would really help me out in getting this information out to other people. So that, you know, like Jimmy Dore, the first video that I shared with you, he started seeing things that, well, what they're telling me over here on the left isn't exactly what's being the truth. But what I hear over here on the right actually makes sense. So, you know, the more people that we can get to be thinking the right way, the better off we'll be. Now, these 4 videos that I share with you are videos that I've posted on Murtech.com. All right, there's ACLJ Sekulow, the video I shared there. Dr. Steve Turley, or Doug in Exile, that's the video I shared there. Wendy Bell, that's the video that I shared from her. But, of course, I didn't have time to share all 55 videos that I have here on Murtech.com. That's why I have my daily news wrap-up that'll be coming up here about 9:30 in just a little bit. So go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee, a donut, sandwich, and a soft drink or a beer. But I will tell you, there's a lot of information in there about Donald Trump installing the for Washington, D.C., he's going to try to get law and order back in Washington, D.C. using the National Guard. Now, you know, of course, the Democrats, the murder rate is out of control. The criminal element is out of control. But it's amazing to me how when somebody like Donald Trump tries to fix that and put law and order in place, for some reason the Democrats freak out about it. What the hell is that all about? The Democrats care more for the criminals than they do for the citizens, the people, the law-abiding citizens that voted for them. And then the Democrat people continue to vote Democrat. What is that all about? Let me know in the comments or in the chat box, because I just don't understand it. If somebody was slapping me in the face, I wouldn't hang out with them more so they could slap me in the face more. I would try to distance myself from that person. Not Democrats. Man, they flock around it. I guess they love the abuse. They love to be victims. I guess that's what it is. But at any rate, take a break. Come back here about 20 minutes. I'll get that started. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for your time. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later. And may God bless.